and welcome to this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Courtney Bloomer. Today's episode is brought to you by the Wired Wednesday Digital Artists Group, sponsoring the Carson City Short Film Competition. Visit them on Wired Wednesday Digital Artists on Facebook for more information about the competition taking place in mid-April. Today's guest for the show is Carson City Juvenile Probation's Allie Banister. Welcome.
Thank you.
Juvenile probation in Carson City is one of the aspects of city government that people may be a little less familiar with. What, sum up for people in general, what the role of juvenile probation is in our town?
Okay, we like to take a rehabilitative approach to helping kids in the community. If kids get into a little bit of trouble and they come into the juvenile system, we help them try to get on the right path, per se.
All right. Now, the juvenile system is a little bit different than the adult prison system. Explain ways that the two are dissimilar. This isn't jail.
No, it's not. It's, like I said, it's very treatment-based. So we don't like to lock the kids up and throw away the key. We were really about rehabilitating the kid to get them on the right track so they don't end up into the adult system later on in their lives. So if we can do that early on in their lives, so they don't end up in jail or prison later on, then that's what we're trying to do, and that's our ultimate goal.
All right. Now, the kids that come into juvenile probation are from here in Carson City, and these are kids that maybe have had a little bit of a hard time.
Sure.
And explain a little bit the process of what happens that bring these kids into the system.
Yeah, so basically how the majority of them get there is they will be referred to us or maybe arrested by a sheriff's officer, Carson City Sheriff's Office. That referral is given to the probation department. At that point, the case is screened by a probation officer and it's decided how we're going to handle that case. If it's a really serious case, it may be taken straight to court and then they may be placed on probation. If it's maybe a not so serious case, we may decide to handle it informally. A kid may be assigned some programs, some community service, some other things to divert them away from the juvenile system, maybe some mental health counseling, some drug and alcohol counseling to get them, diverted from the system. If it's a more serious case, they may end up in a treatment program or a long-term correctional facility. So it just depends on the severity of the kid and the case and what's going on with that kiddo at the time.
Right. Yeah. Now, for parents of kids who have been brought into the juvenile probation system at some level, maybe they're in the facility, maybe they are, as you mentioned, just taking part in some programs. What do parents need to know?
I think that they need to know that we're not scary. We're there to help the kid. So whether it be, a kid's coming in to do a community-based program or do community service or work with the probation officer on probation, we are there to help the parent, help the kid in any aspect that we can. A probation officer, and especially probation officers here in Carson City, we really become part of that kid's family in order to help them become better and help them get on the right track. So parents, I think that it's a little bit of an intimidating process when a kid gets maybe referred to the probation department. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of the parents will see that they really do end up liking the probation officer at the end of the day because we are there to help. So they don't need to be intimidated by the process.
Juvenile probation offers a number of different programs that these kids can participate in. And some of them are sort of character building type programs, educational programs. Talk a little bit about a few of the things that you guys offer that are not sitting there being locked up.
Sure. Yeah, because we do have a detention facility, obviously, that kids can go to once they're arrested. But we have really focused on keeping the kids in the community. And that's something that we've really worked on building in the last couple of years because, studies have found that locking kids up is not beneficial. So we've worked on building these programs that the kids can be in the community. So some of the programs that we have available for the kids are a restitution program. So if a kid owes restitution to a victim, or to a business, they can come in and they can work off the restitution in order to pay back the victim. We also have the forward thinking program. It's like what you said, a character building program. We also have a wilderness program. That's a summer program where if they're court ordered into the program by the judge, they spend their entire summer with us. They go on camping trips. They have to be in counseling with their counselor. It's a really intense program. But after the 10 weeks, the kids find it very rewarding. They may not want to be in it at first, but at the end of the time, they find it very rewarding. We have a girls' circle program, a boys' council program, drug and alcohol program, mental health program. So those are just some of the programs that we offer to the youth in our community.
Now, you mentioned that these kids go through, for example, the wilderness program, and maybe at first they're a little bit reticent to participate. They don't want to. Sure. They don't want to be involved, and they definitely, I think at first think they're being punished. They sort of maybe are, but after the fact, they come out better for it. Once kids leave the program and they're no longer involved with juvenile probation directly, they're not mandated to be involved with you guys. What kind of follow-up is there? What kind of relationships do you guys maintain with these kids?
I think that depends on the kid. A lot of kids will come back and keep a relationship with us. Parents will keep relationships with us. That just depends on the kid. We have several success stories. Some will come back and become repeat offenders into the adult system. Unfortunately, not all of them are success stories. So, we can keep them on probation until they're 21 years old. But once they hit the age of 21, then they're done with us. A lot of times we like to cut them loose when they're 18, but 21 is the oldest that we can hold them on to.
All right. Yeah. So, talk a little bit about what happens at the detention facility. I know that the goal is not to keep kids in the detention facility.
No, that is not. It's a short-term facility. So when they get arrested, they are there for a short period of time. They have to see a judge within 72 hours by NRS mandate, but our goal in Carson is to have a detention hearing within 48 hours. But they are there for the sole purpose of short term. We don't do long-term programming or anything like that, but they are there until they are to be placed in another facility or until they're released home to their parents. It's a 16-bed facility. It is run by youth counselors who we oversee in the Juvenile Services Department. All
right. Talk a little bit just about yourself and what it is that you what it is that you like about working in the juvenile department.
The reason why I like working with kids is because you can see the success stories at the end of the day. I chose the juvenile realm of things instead of adults because I truly think that kids, you can make a difference still. That is something that I have a passion for, and when you see that success at the end of the day with the kids, it's so beneficial and so rewarding. And being in Carson, that I was born and raised here, and so it's what I love.
Providing a healthy community and a strong community for these kids to grow up in is a really key part of keeping them out of the system to begin with. What would you say to community members who want to get involved and want to provide some support for the youth in our community?
I would just say that, we always, as far as volunteering, is that what you mean? Or?
Yeah. What are some things that you see a need for that folks could help out with?
I see a need for any type of volunteering as far as youth goes. I also see a need for foster homes, foster parents. That's a huge gap that we have right now in services for our kids. We see kids that need good mentors. We see kids that need, just somebody to go to when they need a good, adult person in their life. And some of them don't have a good mentor. So that's what I see as a need in our community.
All right. So there are some fantastic organizations here in Carson City that do provide those services, and people who might want to get involved can certainly look up Lori Nichols, who's the foster care coordinator here in Carson City, or visit with the Boys and Girls Club and see how they could get involved there to keep kids from having to get in touch with you in the first place.
Absolutely. That would be great.
All right, Allie, thank you so much for coming today and talking with us and sharing with people a little bit about what juvenile probation does here in Carson City. It's a great organization here in Carson City and really helping to get our kids on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and thanks to all of you for joining us for this week's edition of It's Your City. I'm your host, Courtney Bloomer, and today's episode was brought to you by Wired Wednesday Digital Artists. Check them out on Facebook and get your team registered for the upcoming Carson City community-wide short film competition taking place in mid-April. If your business or organization would like to sponsor a future edition of It's Your City, please contact Darla at the address shown on your screen. That's it for today. We'll see you next week.